Hi friends, welcome to Sindhu English. So நம்ம previous videosல MCQ questions எல்லாம் பார்த்தோம். ஸோ அதில் கொஷின்ஸ்க்கு இடையே ஆன்சர்ஸ் கொடுத்துருக்கீங்க. ஆன்சர்ஸ் இல்லாமல் டெஸ்ட் எழுதி பார்க்குற மாதிரி இருந்தால் நல்லா இருக்கும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு நிறைய பேர் கமெண்ட் பண்ணியிருந்தீங்க. ஸோ உங்களுக்காக இப்போ நீங்கள் டெஸ்ட் எழுதி பார்க்குற மாதிரி இந்த கொஷின்ஸஸ் கொடுத்துருக்கேன். ஸோ இதில் ஆன்சர்ஸஸ் ஒவ்வொரு கொஷின்ஸஸ் படிச்சுட்டு அதுக்கான ஆன்சர்ஸஸ் நான் சொல்லுவேன். நீங்கள் கெஸ் பண்ணுங்கள். நீங்கள் கெஸ் பண்ணி இருக்கிற ஆன்சர்ஸும் நான் சொல்கிற ஆன்சர்ஸும் கரெக்டாக இருக்கான்னு செக் பண்ணிக்கோங்க. So first, education unit 1, perspectives of education. So first topic, pre-primary education. First question, what is the primary focus of pre-primary education in India? The answer is holistic development of children. At what age group is pre-primary education typically targeted? At what age group is pre-primary education typically targeted? The answer is 3 to 6 years. Which program emphasizes early childhood care and education? Which program emphasizes early childhood care and education? So, this is the early childhood care and education, ECCE. The answer is Integrated Child Development Services, ICDS. Integrated Child Development Services. What is a key objective of pre-primary education? What is a key objective of pre-primary education? The answer, developing cognitive and social skills. Developing cognitive and social skills. Which organization supports pre-primary education through Anganwadis? The answer is Ministry of Women and Child Development. Next topic, universalization of elementary education. Universalization of elementary education, UEE. What is the main goal of universalization of elementary education, UEE? The answer is ensuring free and compulsory education for children aged 6 to 14. Which constitutional amendment made education a fundamental right for children aged 6 to 14? The answer is 86th Amendment. Which program was launched in 2001 to achieve UEE? Which program was launched in 2001 to achieve UEE? Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. What is the key feature of UEE? What is a key feature of UEE? The answer is bridging gender and social gaps. Which article in the Indian Constitution supports UEE? The answer is Article 21A. Next topic, primary education. What is the age group targeted by primary education in India? 6 to 11 years. What is a major challenge in primary education in India? The answer is high dropout rates. Which scheme provides free textbooks to primary school students? Which scheme provides free textbooks to primary school students? The answer is Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. Next question. What is the role of Black Resource Centers and under SSA? What is the role of Black Resource Centers under SSA? The answer is supporting teacher training and school planning. Next question. Which initiative under SSA focuses on early reading and writing? The answer is Vande Bharat and Vande Bharat. Next topic, equalization of education opportunities. What does equalization of education opportunities aim to achieve? What does the equalization of education opportunities aim to achieve? The answer is reducing disparities in access to education. Next question. Which group is specifically targeted for educational equity? Which group is specifically targeted for educational equity? The answer is socially disadvantaged groups. Which policy promotes equal education opportunities for girls? The answer is Beti Bachao and Beti Badao. What is a barrier to equalizing education opportunities? What is a barrier to equalizing education opportunities? The answer is socio-economic disparities. Which constitutional provision supports the equality in education? Which constitutional provision supports the equality in education? Article 14. Next topic, secondary and higher education. What is the main goal of Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan RMSA? What is the main goal of Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan RMSA? The answer is improving access and the quality of secondary education. Improving access and the quality of secondary education. When was RMSA launched? When was RMSA launched? The answer is 2009. What is the focus of Rashtriya Uchchadar Shiksha Abhiyan RUSA? What is the focus of Rashtriya Uchchadar Shiksha Abhiyan RUSA? The answer is higher education. What is a key strategy of RMSA? What is a key strategy of RMSA? Establishing secondary schools within 5 to 7 kilometers of habitations. Which scheme supports ICT in secondary schools? Which scheme supports ICT in secondary schools? The answer is Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan. Next, SSA, RMSA, Samagra Shiksha or USC. What is the full form of SSA? What is the full form of SSA? Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. ஸோ உங்களுக்கு அப்ரிவேஷனுங்கிற டாப்பிக்கில் ஒரு கொஷின்ஸஸ் இருக்கிறதா சொல்லியிருக்கோம். மேபி இந்த டாப்பிக்லேருந்து கூட அப்ரிவேஷன்ஸஸ் கேட்கறதுக்கு வாய்ப்பு இருக்குது. Which scheme integrates SSA and RMCA? Which scheme integrates SSA and RMCA? The answer is Samagra Shiksha. When was Samagra Shiksha launched? When was Samagra Shiksha launched? The answer is 2018. Next one, what is the key objective of RUSA? The answer is enhancing the quality of higher education. Which ministry anchors SSA? Which ministry anchors SSA? The answer is Ministry of Education. Uniform pattern and education. What is the purpose of uniform pattern education? The answer is standardizing curriculum across the states. Which body recommends a uniform education pattern in India? The answer is NCERT. What is a challenge in implementing a uniform education pattern? What is a challenge in implementing a uniform education pattern? The answer is regional diversity. Which policy promotes a uniform curriculum? Which policy promotes a uniform curriculum? National Education Policy 2020. Next one, what is the benefit of uniform education pattern? What is a benefit of a uniform education pattern? The answer is consistency in learning outcomes. Consistency in learning outcomes. Next topic, Right to Education Act 2009. When was the Right to Education Act enacted? When was the Right to Education Act enacted? The answer is 2009. What age group does the RTE Act cover? What age group does the RTE Act cover? The answer is 6 to 14 years. What is a key provision for the RTE Act? What is a key provision of the RTE Act? The answer is free and compulsory education. Which article of the Constitution is linked to the RTE Act? Which article of the Constitution is linked to the RTE Act? The answer is Article 21A. Next one, what is a challenge in implementing the RTE Act? What is a challenge in implementing the RTE Act? The answer is lack of funding. Next topic, formal, non-formal and informal education. 41. What is the formal education? The answer is structured education in schools and colleges. Structured education in schools and colleges, that is called formal education. What is an example of non-formal education? What is an example of non-formal education? The answer is adult literacy programs. What characterizes informal education? What characterizes informal education? The answer is learning through daily experiences. Learning through daily experiences. Which program supports non-formal education? Which program supports non-formal education? The answer is National Literacy Mission. Next question, what is the benefit of informal education? What is a benefit of informal education? The answer is flexibility in learning. Next topic, enrollment, stagnation, dropouts. What does enrollment in education refer to? What does enrollment in education refer to? The answer is number of students registering in school. Number of students registering in school. What is stagnation in education? What is stagnation in education? Students repeating a grade. Students repeating a grade. What is a major cause of dropouts in India? What is a major cause of dropouts in India? The answer is socio-economic factors. Next question, which scheme aims to reduce the dropouts? Which scheme aims to reduce the dropouts? The answer is Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. What is the strategy to improve the enrollment? What is a strategy to improve the enrollment? The answer is providing free textbooks. Next topic, functional literacy program. What is the goal of functional literacy program? What is the goal of functional literacy program? The answer is teaching basic reading and writing and numeracy. Teaching basic reading, writing and numeracy. Next question, which group is targeted by functional literacy programs? Which group is targeted by functional literacy programs? The answer is illiterate adults. Illiterate adults. Which organization supports the functional literacy in India? Which organization supports the functional literacy in India? The answer is National Literacy Mission. Next question, what is a key feature of functional literacy? What is a key feature of functional literacy? The answer is practical life skills. Practical life skills. Next one, when was the National Literacy Mission launched? When was the National Literacy Mission launched? The answer is 1988. Next, open schooling. What is the purpose of open schooling? What is the purpose of open schooling? The answer is offering flexible education for out of school learners. Which organization manages open schooling in India? Which organization manages open schooling in India? The answer is National Institute of Open Schooling. Who benefits from open schooling? Who benefits from open schooling? The answer is dropouts and working adults. Next one, what is the feature of open schooling? What is the feature of open schooling? The answer is self-paced learning. Next, what is a challenge in open schooling? What is a challenge in open schooling? The answer is lack of awareness. Next topic, delinking degrees from employment. What does delinking degrees from employment mean? What does delinking degrees from employment mean? The answer is emphasizing skills over academic qualification. Emphasizing skills over academic qualifications. Which policy supports delinking degrees from employment? Which policy supports delinking degrees from employment? The answer is National Education Policy 2020. National Education Policy 2020. What is a benefit of delinking degrees from employment? What is the benefit of delinking degrees from the employment? The answer is focus on skill-based hiring. Focus on skill-based hiring. Next one, what is a challenging in delinking degrees from employment? What is a challenge in delinking degrees from employment? The answer is resistance from traditional employers. Next one. Which sector benefits from delinking degrees? Which sector benefits from delinking degrees? The answer is vocational industries. Next topic, brain drain. What is brain drain in the context of education? What is brain drain in the context of education? That is migration of skilled professional to abroad. Migration of skilled professionals abroad. Next question, what is the cause of brain drain in India? What is a cause of brain drain in India? The answer is better opportunities abroad. Next question, which policy aims to reduce the brain drain? Which policy aims to reduce the brain drain? The answer is National Educational Policy 2020. What is an impact of brain drain? What is an impact of brain drain? The answer is loss of skilled workforce. Loss of skilled workforce. What is a strategy to address the brain drain? What is a strategy to address the brain drain? Creating a better job opportunities in India. Next topic, vocationalization of education. What is the goal of vocationalization of education? What is the goal of vocationalization of education? The answer is integrating skill-based training in education. Integrating skill-based training in education. Next question. Which policy promote the vocationalization of education? National Education Policy of 2020. National Education Policy of 2020. What is the benefit of vocational education? What is a benefit of vocational education? The answer is enhanced employability. Next, which scheme supports the vocational education in schools? Which scheme supports the vocational education in schools? The answer is Samagra Shiksha. What is a challenge in vocational education? What is a challenge in vocational education? The answer is lack of trained instructors. Next, this is the skill development questions. What is the purpose of skill development programs? What is the purpose of skill development programs? So the answer is enhancing employability through training. Enhancing employability through training. Next one, which initiative promotes the skill development in India? Which initiative promotes the skill development in India? Skill India. What is the key feature of skill development programs? The answer is industry relevant training. Which ministry oversees Skill India? The answer is Ministry of Skill Development Entrepreneurship. What is a challenge in skill development? What is a challenge in skill development? The answer is lack of industry collaboration. Next topic, education of socially disadvantaged groups. Which group is considered socially disadvantaged in India? Which group is considered socially disadvantaged in India? The answer is scheduled castes and tribes. Next, which scheme supports education for socially disadvantaged groups? Which scheme supports education for socially disadvantaged groups? The answer is Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. Next, what is the barrier to education for socially disadvantaged groups? What is a barrier to education for socially disadvantaged groups? The answer is socio-economic disparities. Which policy promotes education for marginalized groups? Which policy promotes education for marginalized groups? The answer, all of the above. That is National Education Policy 2020, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, Right to Education Act. What is a strategy to support the education for tribal groups? The answer is providing scholarships. Special and diverse needs of learners. The next topic is special and diverse needs of learners. What does inclusive education aim to achieve? What does inclusive education aim to achieve? The answer is integrating all learners in mainstream education. What is the Universal Design of Learning, UDL? So UDL அப்படினா என்னன்னு கூட கேட்கலாம். Universal Design of Learning. What is the Universal Design of Learning? That is the answer, a framework for flexible learning environments. UDL அப்படினா என்னன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா a framework for flexible learning environments. Which scheme supports the inclusive education? Which scheme supports the inclusive education? The answer is all of the above. That is Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan and Samagra Shiksha. So all these three supports the inclusive education. What is a challenge for learners with special needs? What is a challenge for learners with special needs? The answer is lack of trained teachers. What is the feature of universal design of learning? What is the feature of universal design of learning? The answer is multiple means of engagement. Next we are going to see next topic, barriers in education. What is the major barrier to education in India? What is the major barrier to education in India? The example is poverty. What affects the accessibility of education? What affects the accessibility of education? The answer is lack of school infrastructure. What is a challenge in affordability of education? What is a challenge in affordability of education? The answer is high private school fees. Which group faces the significant barriers in education? Which group faces a significant barriers in education? The answer is rural children. What is a strategy to overcome educational barriers? What is a strategy to overcome educational barriers? Providing scholarships. commissions and committees in education. Which pre-independence commission focused on education? Which pre-independence commission focused on education? The answer is Hunter Commission. Which post-independence commission recommended a 10 plus 2 plus 3 structure? Which post-independence commission recommended a 10th plus 2 plus 3 structure? The answer is Kothari Commission. What was the focus of Mudaliar Commission? What was the focus of Mudaliar Commission? The answer is secondary education. Which commission recommended the national policy? Which commission recommended the national education policy? The answer is Kothari Commission. What is the role of education commissions? What is the role of education commissions? The answer is recommending policy reforms. Recommending policy reforms. Okay friends, so இப்போ யூனிட் 1ல இருக்கக்கூடிய எல்லா டாபிக்ஸ்லேருந்தும் நாம் இப்போ ஒரு 100 கொஷின்ஸஸ் பார்த்துருக்கோம். ஸோ இதே மாதிரி ஒவ்வொரு யூனிட்லையுமே 100 கொஷின்ஸஸ் நாம் பார்க்கணும். தேங்க்யூ ஆல்.